Hi, my name is Brenda Tringali. I am a certified professional organizer and the owner of At Your Fingertips Organizing. I do three things. So I help people with downsizing. So whether that's decluttering your possessions in your home or in your office, paperwork, digital files, whatever, that's the downsizing piece. Productivity, I help people with time management, task management, things of those nature, project management. We'll develop a project plan. And then last but not least is speaker. So let's get this party started. Okay, so just a few housekeeping rules. So cell phones, please keep them out. Take them out if you've already put them away because you've been so good, but if you could just make sure that they are on silent. And we're actually going to use them for a couple of different things. One of them is something I've started implementing in my presentations, which is called Poll Everywhere, and I'll get to the instructions in a minute, but it's a fun way to get some audience participation. And then at the very end, there'll be a survey that I'm trying for the first time called Talk-A-Dot, but we'll get into that. Participation is highly encouraged, and if you have any questions, if you could please hold them until the end. The email list is going around. Hey, BJ, how you doing? Hey, come on, join the party, come on. No, don't worry about it. Here's a handout, sir. Great to see you again. Thank you. Let's see, I think that was it. Okay, so email list is going around. Oh, somebody else, here we go. All right, so just a little bit about me. I'm from New England, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire specifically. And I became a professional organizer, oh my God, how many years ago? Too many years ago. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago. I belong to the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. And I've earned a couple of NAPO certificates, one in residential organizing, one in workplace productivity. But the big thing that I just got last year was my designation as a certified professional organizer. And I am one of 348 in the world, and one of 2 in South Carolina, and the other one is in Charleston. So just an FYI, a little tidbit. My mission at Your Fingertips Organizing is to educate, inspire, and empower people to reduce their overwhelming and stressful clutter so they can simplify their lives, excuse me, and focus on the people and things that matter most to them. Because really, isn't that what life is all about, right? We want to spend our lives getting, like whatever, organizing, cleaning, decluttering, whatever. Let's just get it done so that you can focus on other things that are more important. And how do I help people declutter? So I either do that in person, so we work together one-on-one, or I do classes, or through speaking, so speaking to businesses or groups. So please keep that in mind. If you know of any organization that you think could benefit from a talk, again, either downsizing, productivity, whatever, please let me know. Okay, so in person and virtually, sorry. So I'm going to cover 5 topics. And by the way, the handouts that you have in front of you, all the key points are already on the handout. So you don't need to worry about writing them down. But if you want to take notes, you could use the back. So there you go, nice and easy. So the first thing is so today I'm talking about to-do lists or task management systems. So people tend to use one of 3, well, maybe more than one, I'm sorry. There are 3 different options primarily. There's paper, which is what most of us, I know my generation grew up with, right? We didn't have the technology back then. So we use paper. The younger folk tend to use digital, and some people have evolved to digital. But then there's also hybrid, so that's a combination of the 2. So today I'll be talking about only paper and digital. I will not be talking about the hybrid. That's a whole different monster. So anyway, so what I'll be talking about today is, number 1, so what's the fallout from the lack of a trusted task management system? So what does that mean? A trusted task management system is the system that you use, whether it's paper or digital. The question is, do you completely trust your system? In other words, do you know that all your tasks are completely up to date, they're in the right order, they're all in one place where you can easily access them? You can sleep at night and not worry about your to-do list, right? You trust it 100%. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Number 2, paper versus digital systems. I'll talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of each. Number 3, the features to consider in a digital task management system. So yes, I grew up using paper because that's all we had at the time. But because of my career, my different careers over the years, because I'm such a nerd and I really love technology, I have now migrated and use a digital task management system. And so that's why I'm here. I want to share this with you. So this class is really for people who either currently only use paper and just want to see what a digital task manager is like, and just to gain a basic understanding of it. Or it's also for people who maybe currently use a digital task management system and just want to see, okay, is this the best one there is, or whatever, what are some of the features that I should be aware of in case I decide to switch? So we'll be talking a little bit about that. So we'll talk about 3 of the features to consider in a digital task management app. 4th, I will be talking about the task management app that I use, the digital app that I use. And I do have a few slides. I don't know about you, I'm a visual learner. So the majority of people are, I think it's 65%. We need to see things in order to learn them. If somebody tries to tell me something, I can't process it. I can't understand it. I need to see it. So I've got a few slides of what my task management app looks like so you can see it. And so we'll talk about why I use it, how I use it, so you can get a feel for it. And then 5 will be next steps. Okay, so the goals. So the goals of the session, very, very easy, very simple. I want this to be valuable for you. I want it to be actionable. So I want you to be able to leave here and say, okay, I know what the next steps are if I want to make a change. I want it to be engaging, again, participation, and that's why we'll do the poll questions. I want it to be interactive, and I want it to be inspiring. So those are my goals. Jump right into this. So what's the fallout from the lack of a trusted system? So, so there's no clear roadmap. In other words, if you don't have a system, whether it's paper or digital, that you trust, then you don't know where you're going, right? Your priorities may not be in order. They may not be clear. Another one, you could miss commitments. So if you don't have something documented, you could miss an important event or a meeting or whatever. If you don't have a trusted system and you have big projects or goals that you want to achieve, if you don't have every step documented, and you know it's in a trusted system, you may not achieve that goal or finish that project because, again, not everything is there. So what happens, another fallout could be that your reputation suffers. So again, if you're missing meetings, if you're late for meetings, if you're missing appointments, if you're missing weddings, whatever, not your own, hopefully, but people say, oh, I can't depend on that person. They're always late, or they don't show up, or they don't follow through on their commitments. So that could affect both your personal reputation and your professional reputation. And then last but not least, which I think this one might be the most important, maybe not, but stress. So I don't know about you, but sometimes life gets in the way, and I may not 100% have everything entered in my phone. And so what happens? I'm up at night, I'm tossing and turning, and I'm thinking, oh God, I can't forget to do this. Oh, I have to put that in my phone tomorrow. I have to write it down. So there's a lot of stress that comes with that. So actually, let me back up 1 second. Can anyone think of anything else that might result if you don't have a trusted system? Anyone? No? Okay, great. Talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of each, the paper versus the digital. So paper on the left, digital on the right. So obviously digital. Digital, you can either use a laptop, you can use an iPad, or a tablet, whatever. You can use your phones, right? So those are probably the most common. Paper is a little bit more, I don't want to say confusing, but there are a lot of options. I mean, I see some people just use an 8.5 by 11 notebook, right? That's all. They write it down, then that's great. Next day they start a new page, they rewrite the list, whatever. There are planners, there are journals, there's this, there's that. There are so many different options. There are sticky notes. Some people use sticky notes. I'm not going to mention any names, but they may. So it could be any one of those. It doesn't have to be just sticky notes for paper. Let's talk about the pros. And I will ask you at the end if you can think of anything else that you want to add to this. This is not comprehensive. I tried to keep it to about 5 for each. But what are the pros of paper? So number one, the feel of it. So some people love paper. I personally, when I journal, I love to journal, I only use paper because it forces me to sit and think. And there's just something about putting a pen to paper. So the feel of it. Also, another pro is memory retention. I don't know about you, but when I write something down, it reinforces it for me, so it helps me remember it. Enhanced focus. So again, the paper, sometimes if you enter something on an app, it's there, and then you move on to something else. But sometimes on paper, you can really focus on it, maybe spend a little extra time thinking about it or adding more information to it. Another pro, ergonomic break. So you're taking a break from the screen, which is really important because of the eye strain and all that. And then related to that, you're reducing screen time because a lot of screen time is not good for us. Is there anyone who uses paper who has another pro? You know, why they love using paper or the advantage of paper? Yeah.
You can use variety.
Oh, yeah, variety, yeah. What, Tony?
Different colors,
Yeah, absolutely. So what I meant to mention earlier, I have my favorite pens, and I use them for journaling, but they're erasable. But it's not like the traditional one. It erases by pressure and not by an actual eraser. So, and it comes in different colors. I love it.
Yeah, I color code when I put it on paper.
Yeah.
Whatever's important first, like pink or
Yeah.
yellow, green.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. That's a great system. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the cons of paper. And again, I think I just picked 5, but I'll ask if anyone has any others. So what happens with paper notes? They can be lost. They can be forgotten. So let's just say you're working in an office, your window is open, there's no screen, right? The window's right open. All of a sudden, there's a big breeze that comes in. If you had that sticky note thing on a whiteboard or on a blackboard or something, and the breeze came in, they could all just fly out the window. That's an extreme case, but it can happen. Also, if you use paper, you should carry, if you want that to be your trusted task manager system, you'd have to carry that with you 24/7. And I do have a little notebook, not my phone. I have my phone there too. But if I wake up in the middle of the night and I think of something that I have to do or whatever, I have my little light up notebook or whatever that I will write it in. But with paper, you have to have it with you 24/7. Okay. Also, it doesn't come with an alarm, so you have to check the list constantly. When we get into the digital, you'll see some of the features. But unless you set an alarm on your phone, you would just have to check it constantly. You're not going to get any built-in reminders or notifications from paper. Also, the example I gave earlier, if you don't enter them in order, you waste your time rewriting the list. So a lot of people do a daily to-do list, and that's fine. It's on paper. That's great. But then, the day is done. Then they switch to the next page. Hopefully, they start a clean page. And whatever didn't get done carries over, but now maybe there are higher priorities. So you're rewriting it. So you're kind of wasting time, but maybe not. Again, there's no correct answer, right? There's no perfect system. And then another con of paper, and I referenced this earlier, there are so many options to pick from. It's exhausting. If you go to Office Max or Office Depot, I never know what to call them, but if you go to their journal, their planner section, there are just so many to pick from. If you go to the notebooks, there are so many to pick from. So it can be a little overwhelming. Anybody think of any other cons with paper, any disadvantages to a paper system? No? Okay, great. All right, let's talk a little bit about the digital system and the pros. So this one, I'm a little biased, so I think instead of 5 bullets, I have 6. I apologize. And it was tough getting it down to 6. Okay. Built-in reminders and notifications. So if I get notifications, I can add a notification on my to-do list so that it reminds me to do something. on a certain day. If I want to specify a time, it'll remind me on the time. I don't have to set a separate alarm. It's built in, which is a great feature. Digital app, it's very easy to make changes. So I'll equate this to rewriting a paper to-do list, right? On paper, you're writing it out. In the app, you just go in. If you didn't get it done, you can just easily change the date and move it to the next day or whatever. You can change priority. So it's very easy to make changes. 3, seamlessly sync across devices. So I use my app not only on my laptop, I use it on my iPad, and I use it on my phone. So I make a change on one device, and it gets updated in the cloud, so every device is updated. So it's just so easy. The next one, you can access your cloud-based platform anywhere. So again, just to compare it with paper, if you forgot your to-do list at home and you're at work, all right, then it's like, oh God, what am I going to do? But if you use an app, as long as you've updated it and you have access to one of, a device, then you'll have it at your fingertips, as they like to say. Tasks. Oh, the great thing about tasks, you don't need to create them in order. You can easily sort them. And again, so compared to the paper, if you use paper and you want them in order, then you really have to think about it and try to put them in order, and you may make a mistake and you have to erase, whatever. But with the digital app, it's easier to rearrange things. And then last but not least, automate recurring tasks. I love this one. So I belong to a couple of different groups. We have monthly meetings, say the 3rd Monday of the month, whatever it is at a certain time. So when I create the task, I just automatically set it to recur third Monday of every month, and it's automatically in my calendar. So again, compared to paper, you don't have to physically go into a calendar and add that. Okay, so it's doing it for you. Can anyone think of any other pros for a digital to-do list? Okay, great. And then let's just talk about the cons. So possible cost. So there could be costs. And the app that I use, I'm currently on the free plan. So if you don't know me well, I will tell you I'm very frugal. I love free. Okay, it's my favorite word. I drive my husband crazy, but anyway. So there could be a cost. And I'll warn you about that in a little bit more. But sometimes they're low, sometimes they're high. Versus paper, I mean, obviously you have to buy paper, but if you just buy loose leaf paper, that's pretty cheap, right? So whatever, pros and cons. The notifications can be distracting. So if you have it set, you notified of a task you need to do it on a certain date, it could be distracting if you don't shut it off or whatever. But so that's a con. Again, the digital app could cause eye strain or insomnia, stress, anxiety, whatever. Another con is your device is going to be dependent, maybe not the cell phone so much, but battery power, right? So if your phone, let's just say your iPad, whatever, goes dead, you don't have a charger, you don't have a backup battery, whatever, and that's your only tech device, then you're out of luck, right? And then this is a big one. So a lot of the people that I work with are not techies, right? Most of them, we're old school. And I only got here just because of my career and things I had to learn and had to do, prior careers as well. I used to be a social worker, and then I was in human resources for 30 years. So I had to learn all this stuff. But for people who don't use tech, it's overwhelming. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's nothing to be embarrassed. So here are some features to consider in a digital system. So now we're switching to the digital. And I actually have 3 screens of these. There are a lot of different features. I picked the ones that I feel are most important. So first of all, again, price, free, okay, sorry. But price, if you're on a budget, whatever, you don't want to spend a lot of money, there are apps out there that do cost a lot of money. So that. Some of them require a subscription, so if you're not on a free plan. So what does that mean? That means that once you buy into it, you kind of tie to it until you decide to sever your relationship with that app. And I don't like commitments, I'm telling you. So for me to get married a second time, that was like a big deal, all right? Like, that's a little bit too much of a commitment. But, so, you know, it can be a big deal for people. So another feature is the number of devices you can use it on. I recently, I'm going to say 9 months to a year ago, I switched to my current system. The last app that I used, I was limited to 2 devices. That drove me crazy. And I was paying for that. I was on a subscription. And in order to increase the number, it wanted me to upgrade and pay more money. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. No. All right. So that kind of bugged me. Another feature, tasks and subtasks. So depending on the digital app that you select, if you select one, not only can you create a task, but you can actually create subtasks below that. So it's a hierarchy, because not all tasks are created equally. So it's just a nice feature. And it's, again, I like to play with tech, so it's a fun one for me. The next one is task visualization. So in other words, all right, here's the equivalent. When you do a paper to-do list, right? You look at the piece of paper and you have your list of tasks. So that's called the list view. You have one view. When you go digital, you have different options, and I'll show you a slide on this. But you have more than one view option, and different types of views. And again, when you see this, if you're a visual learner like I am, then you'll see the difference. And then another one is, do you have the option for alerts and notifications, which I like, not everyone does. More features. You can assign tasks to others, to other people. I've assigned tasks to my husband. He does not like that. It's called my honey to-do list. He doesn't like that. Even though I put a little heart on it, he doesn't like that. You can assign different priorities. And you could do that on a paper list, absolutely, but they have different color coding systems. You can, and again, you can do this, the next one, on a paper system. When I work with clients on helping them achieve their goals or projects, we look at each step, and I have them estimate. And I hate this, but estimate, how long do you think it's going to take you to do that? It's so key. Is it 15 minutes? Is it an hour? Is it 2 hours? So that you can plan accordingly.
It forces you to keep score.
Yeah, absolutely. And then some apps, the one I use right now, so not only can you put in the time estimate, you can actually use a little clock and time yourself to see how long it actually takes you to perform that task. Why is that important? It's important because if it's a task that you do all the time, then you'll learn, oh, you know what, I was wrong. It takes more than 15 minutes. It takes me an hour. So you can plan better. You can plan accordingly when you're planning what to do for a day. Another feature is free templates. So a lot of apps come with templates that you could use for different things. I'm not even going to get into that, but it's just a nice little option. And then the last section of features. So drag and drop. So just easier for those of you who like digital, like just in general, if you've ever worked with anything that has drag and drop, just easy. Instead of retyping things, you can just kind of move things over. It's great. Digital apps, you can create custom fields. Again, you could do that on paper, but you could create a field. I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but if there's a field that doesn't already exist, you can create it for free, and it can be whatever field you want, whatever responses you want, which is a great perk. Collaboration. This is great if you're working with a team. So if you're all using the same app, you can collaborate with team members, and you can all see a project. You can see who's doing what. It's great. I personally don't collaborate with anyone. I'm a solopreneur, but it is great. Task dependencies, and I'll show this to you. Is anyone a nerd like me? Does anyone like really get into project management and Gantt charts? Yay! Okay, all right. So you, yeah, I love that.
People that I work with on projects that are very into Gantt.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if you're ex-military.
Oh yeah.
They love
Right.
Yeah.
So you can, if there's a task, if there's a dependency between one task and another, and you have to create, or you have to complete task number 1 first before you can start task number 2, this will display on a Gantt chart. And it's just, again, I would say, I'm going to guess, 95% of the world does not use a Gantt chart, right? I don't know. Or know what a Gantt chart is, right? Yeah, just Google it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I learned this in.
There's overlapping.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually am going to show you a picture. That's one of the views. And then another perk, the final one is you can attach documents or files to a digital to-do list if you want, if it's relevant. You don't have to. Okay, so which task manager do I use? I use ClickUp. So let me explain. So I used to use a different system. This is actually on your handout, and I've hopefully organized it.
I'm assuming this is your affiliate link.
It is, yep, yep. And I did a lot of research. So I was really getting very frustrated with my former task management app. I won't mention the name, but I was paying for it, and I was on, I'll say, version 2 for the longest time. I think they came out with version 3. I didn't upgrade. I came up with version, because I don't.
You tell me later.
I'll tell you later. Yeah, yeah. I can't. Well, I don't like to badmouth. I don't like to badmouth. But if any of you are considering one and you pick that one, let me know. Plus, this is being recorded.
How are we gonna let you know?
Well, no, just if you're interested. Yeah, I don't want it to be recorded. This is being recorded.
I hear
I didn't say it. No. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But so I stayed on my last app as long as I could before upgrading because there was a cost and I didn't want to pay. Yeah. And then finally it reached the point where I had to. It impacted, when I pulled it up on my laptop, they updated it so that I literally had all this garbage on my screen and I couldn't see the data. I'm like, oh God. So I had 2 choices. What were my choices? My choices were I could either stay with that app and upgrade and pay more money, which I'm like, I really don't want to do that. But I had used it for years, and I thought, well, my other option is to invest some time, which I really don't have, but do the research, other digital apps, because I've had this one for so long. Obviously, they've come out with bigger and better things. Let me see what's out there. So I decided to do the research. I'm so glad I did, because that's how I discovered ClickUp, and I just love it. So as an FYI, I am still on their free plan, okay? The next level is only $5 a month, but I'm holding out as long as I can. Again, I don't like commitment, but I'm willing to do it, honestly, because to me that's very inexpensive for the time and the money that it saves me. So ClickUp has great training resources. So they have, in the app, they have articles that you can read. They have videos. Again, I need to see things. They have, YouTube videos, whatever, to learn how to do things. I think it's easy and fun to use. It has great features. Again, I can access it. I'm an Apple girl, so I can access it from all my devices, and has a variety of views, which we're going to get into. Yeah.
I'm Apple all the way.
Okay, yep.
But is it available on?
I need to check that. I'm so sorry. I assume it is. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is, yeah. So I just wanted to give you some examples of how I use my task manager. These are just very generic, but so on it I have a habits checklist, so habits that I want to do every morning. So it's on my phone or throughout the day, whatever. And I just use that as my checklist. Okay, did I do it? Did I not do it? Or do I still need to do it? Whatever. Recurring tasks. So again, anything that occurs on a regular basis, you can put it in there, you can specify when you want it to recur, and it's automatically in there, whether it's daily, monthly, annually. You can create your own custom recurrence, whatever you need. My bills, I have all my bills in there, so I know the bill due date, I know when I need to pay them, which in some cases I need to pay them earlier. For example, I mailed my electric bill, okay? So I need to allow time for the mail. So I pay that earlier. So I love that for that. Errands, I have an errands list in there of when I'm out on the road, things I need to do. Just silly things, but again, I don't have to think about it. I don't want to think. God forbid I think. Home maintenance, I use it for my home maintenance schedule. So, okay, did I clean the filter in the coffee machine? Did I don't know, whatever, anything around the house that needs to be done on a regular basis, whether it's monthly or annually, whatever. I'm sorry, what?
Change your air filter.
Yeah, air filter, excellent. That's in there for monthly, but that's assigned to my husband. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah. So family and friends, again, I'm a little neurotic, but you know, my closest family and friends, they are in there, and there are some people that I don't see or whatever as often, so I have reminders in there to check in with them, whether it's once a month or once every few months or whatever it is, depending on the relationship. Again, a little neurotic and over the edge, but or over the top, but that works for me. I use it for personal goals. My husband and I are planning a big vacation next month, vacation checklist, and so I've got my checklist in there, and you know, chipping away and just going for it. But that's just one example of a project, basically. And then business. So one goal, a project that I'm working on, is upgrading my website to be able to hold videos that people can watch. And that's been a little bit of a struggle with technology, but I won't go there. But anyway, so I use it in a number of different ways, both personally and professionally. Now we're going to talk about the views. So again, these are my favorite views. So there's a list view, again, paper. If you use a paper system, it's equivalent to that. You'll see that in a minute. We have a board view, which is also called, I believe it's pronounced Kanban. We have a calendar view, a Gantt chart, and a mind map. Now, hopefully, okay, oh great. So this is the demo this is actually in my app, ClickUp, and it's for my vacation. And this is just, so it's a dummy list, excuse me, this is not my actual vacation checklist. But, you know, confirm the hotel, toiletries, inventory the toiletries, buy the toiletries that are needed, which, by the way, I have it set up as a dependency. So I am not allowed to buy new toiletries until I have inventoried what I have for toiletries already, because God forbid I buy a duplicate or whatever. But, you know, so just different things, pack, you know, different things. So I can sort it by due date, I can sort it by priority, by how long I think it will take, so the estimated number of minutes, the status, they're all open right now. I probably should have closed one, but I didn't. But so that's the list view. So does everyone see how that compares to a paper to-do list? Essentially, it might have a little bit more detail, but you know, that's the list view. Now, this is the board view. So again, this is something that you can't do on a paper list. So Kanban. So what it does is it breaks them down into categories. So we have the ones that are still open. Those are not yet done. We have the ones that are in progress. And then we have the ones that are closed or done. So for example, the flights are booked, so it's done. The advantage of this view is once I inventory my toiletries, all I have to do is, on my app, live, just take it and drag it to closed. And it automatically changes the status, whatever. Again, I'm just a nerd, but it's different. I love that. And for me, it's more fun. I don't know, it's fun. So that's Kanban, the board view. Then we have the calendar view. So it automatically transfers those tasks and their due dates into a calendar. And it's a separate calendar. So it's not my calendar that I use, but it's a calendar. So again, you know, it just automatically slots them in, which is great.
Is this integrated with Google? Does it have integrations?
It probably does, but I have not used it. No, and I'm still playing with it, but I like keeping them separate. I don't know why. Yeah. So that's the calendar view. That's the third one, I believe. This is the Gantt view. So this is the one that we were chatting about, that Barbara and I were chatting about earlier. So it's a chart, and it just shows the different weeks at the very top. If you can see them, I'm too short to reach, but you know, it'll just show you visually what you need to do in what week. And then this is the dependency that I was talking about. Again, the toiletries, it's showing that I have to complete this first before I can buy new toiletries. So it's just a different way of looking at it. Again, paper chart, you can't do this. Paper to-do list, excuse me, you can't do this. But it's just a different way of looking at it. But very few people use a Gantt chart. And then the final one, and I love this one. Does anyone mind map? Anyone know what it is? No. So it's a great way to, and you don't need an app for this, just so that you know. You can just do this on a piece of paper. I should teach a class about this. So it's a fun way, in my opinion, to say you want to plan your own vacation. Okay, so that would be in the middle, and then you just do offshoots of things that you need to do, and maybe you group them by category. So say, for example, accommodations. Okay, so accommodations would be one. What about like getting a passport or whatever? Could be like another major category. I'm trying to think. Maybe food, like transportation. Thank you, thank you. My husband planned the trip, so like I'm drawing a blank. So it's a fun way, if you're a creative, just to go in and play with it. Like, oh yeah, somehow I feel like coming up with tasks is more fun doing it that way. So, pardon me? Yeah, dining, just side trip. Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun. And so if you do it on a mind map, then it should transfer over into your actual everything else list. So those are the views. So what are your next steps? Okay, so we've talked about the paper versus digital. We've talked about the pros and the cons. I've told you about the app that I use. So the question is, what would be your next steps when you leave here today? So first and foremost, just think about your current system, whether it's paper, whether it's digital, whether it's a combination of the two or hybrid. Is it functional? Is it working for you, right? Are you on time, on point for everything? Can you trust it? Now, we know people rate it pretty high. What was it, 76 to, no, it was the level below that. 50, yeah. So people rate it pretty high, and that's great. And maybe that's good enough for you, and that's fine. But, are you happy with it? And if the answer is yes, then you're done. You don't need to do anything else, right? Because no change is required. But if you're not, then the next step would be, okay, then you decide, well, then what type of system do I want? Do I want a paper system? Do I want a digital system? Or do I want hybrid, which is a combination of the two? So you really need to start thinking about that. And I think that it really depends on your current system and what's working, what's not working. But think about that. And then the third step would be, okay, so then research the options. So see what's out there. If you're a paper person, look at planners, look at this, look at that, whatever. There are a lot of great ones out there. There really are. If it's digital, look at the different options. And here's what's key. Not only do you research the options, but decide to decide. So I work with a lot of people who love to, I believe the term is called procrastinate. Okay, I never saw that before. So what do? They spend all their time doing research and research and research. They never pull the trigger, probably bad analogy, but they never pull the trigger and actually make the decision because they suffer from decision paralysis. They're afraid to make a decision because they're afraid it's the wrong one. But you know what? You have to decide. Just do it. You can always change it later if it doesn't work. Just do it. So decide to decide. The next step, no matter what system you use, whether it's paper or digital, you need to learn it and you need to play with it. I was not born a million years ago knowing how to use ClickUp, right? I had to put the time and the energy in to learn it. I watched the videos, I played with it. A lot of people get frustrated with their systems. They say, oh, it doesn't work, I'm going to get another one. But if you don't invest the time in learning it, it's not going to work for you, no matter what system you use. And the fourth and final one, again, be patient. Just give yourself grace. It's going to take you a little while, but give yourself grace to learn it. Okay. I think we're at so which system is best for you? And here's the answer. It's the one that works best for you, that you trust, and that you will use consistently. There's no right answer. For some of you, it's going to be paper. For others, it will be digital. For others, it'll be hybrid or a combination of the two. There's no right answer. And I'm not here to convince you to go digital by any means. If paper works, do it. If digital works, do it. If your current app works, stay with it. But again, I wanted to introduce this topic for people who have no idea what a digital app looks like and wanted an overview, or for people who currently use digital and wanted an overview of possibly a different app. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Your time is very valuable, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come.